What's up, everyone? Thank you for listening to another episode of the Sawyer Brothers Show. Please be sure to follow and subscribe to the show on Apple Podcasts and Spotify, and then follow our podcast accounts and SDI accounts on all socials. We post daily on Instagram, TikTok, Facebook, and YouTube. We appreciate the support and listens greatly. Welcome to episode 14. We've got a pretty cool episode planned for us today. Talk a little bit about some hockey stuff, and then we're going to pass it over to an interview that we did with Coach Rick DeSana, the head coach of Riverview Gabriel that I have been an assistant with for 6 years. I did the math the other day. I knew it was like around there, but the fact that it's been 6 years is kind of crazy. So we'll touch on that in a minute here, and then we'll send that over to that interview.
So first, as guys who have a podcast, and sometimes it's more hockey-based, I cannot believe that Sam Reinhart of the Florida Panthers is not being talked about more. Mm-hmm. All right? Austin Matthews is probably the best goal scorer in today's game right now. The guy, I feel like he scores every night. He's in Toronto, who has more publicity than everyone. He has 40 goals right now, right? Sam Reinhart has 37 goals right now, and people don't even know who that name is. People who follow hockey don't even know.
Do you know why I know that, Griff?
Why?
Because he's on my fantasy team.
That's the only reason? I love that.
I didn't know he had 37. I found that out this week listening to Overdrive. I knew he was having a great year because he continues to chip away on my fantasy team, but I did not know it was 37. It blew my mind.
He has 37 goals right now, and in only 49 games, this guy is making $6.5 million a year. His contract's up this year. And let's just say Florida's going to have to pay the guy if they want to keep him, or maybe go to a new team, because this guy having 37 goals in 49 games is just probably the quietest, most impressive first goal scoring year of its player ever. Literally all the attention's on Kucherov and McKinnon, as it should be with their points in general, and Matthews 40. Reinhart is getting no love, and I can't believe that. So I can't believe it. Florida's going to be in trouble, though, because they have to sign him. They're already only under $3 million under the cap. Brandon Montour's contract's up. He's going to get paid. Gustav Forslin's going to need to get paid. It's going to be – so if I'm Florida Panthers, I better be going all in right now. So,
yeah.
I just think that –
and they're in that tough division that we always talk about, too.
Oh. So just to start with that, I needed to get that out there. Also, Andrew got us some new shirts here. They're pretty cool. Maybe one day we'll make some for people to buy, but they're pretty nice. So They look pretty good. So this week, the NHL is kind of slow. We only have games on Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, and I think there's one on Wednesday. Go Wings. But they're leading up to the All-Star game, which is in Toronto this weekend. So I kind of want to ask Andrew his opinion on what do you think of the All-Star game these days? Do you think it's entertaining? Do you think they're doing a good job? Do you think they could improve it? What are your kind of thoughts?
I like some of the changes they've made in recent years. They added the 3-on-3 a few years ago. I like that they're doing the draft this year. I think that was something that will be, entertaining, and it's another event for them to, organize and attract the crowd together. But I could not care any less about the.
You gonna watch it?
No, I will be watching the high school hockey showcase, the MIHL showcase in Trenton all weekend. And even if I was not busy with that, I will obviously see some of those clips on social media, just because naturally, if we open social media and there's no normal games, they're gonna still be posting stuff. So we're gonna see that type of thing, and we'll probably post some of it on our accounts. But other than the big names, just kind of seeing some of the stuff, seeing the jerseys on the ice for the first time, seeing who the captains draft and all that, I don't really care at all.
Yeah, I work every other weekend, and there's a lot of good sports stuff every weekend between all different sports. And this weekend is the All-Star game, and I work, and I'm not too upset that I'm not going to be missing out on it, which is sad because it's the best game ever. But I don't even know how they could improve it.
Yeah.
I think the cool colors, I think the captains, the draft are all great. Like you said, the skills competition should be fun, but I just feel like it's not great.
Yeah, I mean, I do feel that the NHL has clearly made it a goal and an objective of theirs to improve it, and they've definitely brainstormed things to try and just like incorporate other people. You know, this year in Toronto, they have the captains, they have the assistant captains, and then they have the celebrity, like I think they're calling them co-captains of some sort. And they're using big name people, you know, and a lot of them have the Canadian ties. You know, Bieber, he's a captain. Tate McRae, obviously everyone knows who Tate McRae is now. She's Canadian. She's from Calgary. Will Arnett, he's a big Canadian comedian. And then who's the fourth one? I can't remember who the fourth one is. But either way, all three of those people have Canadian connections. Bieber. No, I said Bieber. Oh. They're all from Canada. So it'll be that's a cool thing they're doing. We don't even know the fourth one. So that'll be cool. That's a nice touch to the All-Star game, the players draft and all that. But like I said, I mean, I think the NHL is doing what they can to improve it, but it's still just like at a certain point, the players, I don't think they all really care too much. I think one thing that will attract them a little bit more this year is the cash prize they have. That'll definitely motivate someone.
All right, well.
Michael Bublé is the other captain. He's Canadian as well. He's a singer.
Yeah, we'll see how it goes. I hope it goes well. I hope the players have fun. I hope the fans that are going have a good time, and they can make it pretty entertaining for the viewers at home. I mean, every year there's always a little bit different feel to it, so maybe this year will be cool.
I agree. So we'll pass it over to our interview with Coach Rick right now. One thing I want to say about Coach Rick is, or a couple things I'll say about him. One, when we had the idea to put this podcast together originally to get it started, we didn't want to do interviews right off the start because we wanted to get our flow and our comfort out of the way with just kind of recording. But then whenever we did want to start doing interviews at a certain point, because we knew that was our plan at a certain point, we both kind of had Rick in the back of our mind. I wanted him to be our first. Whenever I said it to Griff, he knew that was great. He was on the same page with me. So Rick is someone who I have, like I said, coached with for 6 years. I coached with him at Gabriel Richard. I coached with him for a year at Michigan Dearborn. He has been someone that has been a huge impact on me and a lot of other people. And I say it in the interview at the end, but there's three things that I think about whenever I, and started coaching with him, and the reason I still coach with him to this day. He loves the game, he loves the team, and he loves winning. Every one of those things. He's not just at the rink killing time. He wants to, improve the team and make sure that everyone's always trying to compete at their highest level individually and then also as a team. So I think you'll enjoy this interview because we kind of touch on a lot of different things with them. All right, here we are, our first interview of the Sawyer Brothers show. We're here with Coach Rick DeSana of Riverview Gabriel Richard. Coach Rick, thanks for being with us. Thanks for being our first interview.
Thanks for having me. Andrew told me when we thought about doing the podcast, he literally said we could start doing new ideas here or there, do interviews, and he said, "I got it. We got to interview Coach Rick." That was one of the first things he told us. So.
Yeah, that was the first one. So with that, I think part of the reason that we wanted to even do a podcast originally is because we listen to so many podcasts. I know you do as well. How important do you think it is as someone who's just trying to continuously improve as a coach and as a person to listen to other things and talk with people and take advantage of those resources?
Oh, I would say 100% because, let's see. Well, Spittin' Chicklets is fun to listen to, and it also has a lot of knowledge, right? I think on the last Chicklets they talked about the Edmonton and why it changed, right? Because it just doesn't automatically change, right? So they talked about their D coach and different changes and the new coach and the changes that he made. So and then obviously what is it? What's it? Glass and Out?
Yeah,
Glass and Out. The coach's site, just any and all resources to make yourself better as a coach is just absolutely huge. You can't stay the same nowadays, or you'll just get left behind.
I think one of the first things that I heard from when I first started coaching was Mike Babcock. He always said, he gave this whole speech. I can't remember where I found it on YouTube, and he was just like, whether I'm watching mini Mike practice, when I'm going to pick up my son from practice, or I'm at the pregame skate and I'm watching the NHL team are playing that night, I try and steal from everyone and try and incorporate it. So I think that's something that all of us try to do.
Absolutely. Actually, I can tell you a little story about Mike Babcock.
Yeah.
I think it was I was fortunate enough to have Todd Johnson kind of help out. And he mentioned that, that it was Mike Babcock. He was able to get in the room with Mike Babcock because his son played for him at CC. And literally that's when they started coming up with like the invention of like changing the game. Him and about, I think it was maybe 5 or 6 others, and they came up with the center drive. They came up with all that. Back in the day, that's kind of when it started really to change how the game is played, which was pretty cool.
I think for me, like when I was in high school, which was funny because I didn't realize this till years later, but when I was playing in high school, they were the first team that like they would enter the zone, like you said, through the middle, and they would just bump it off to the wide. And I remember being in high school, like literally as a sophomore, being like, why are they skating to the middle and just shooting it off to the side? And now it's just like, our main thing with all entries. So so before we get into coaching stuff, just like give us a quick background on your playing career. Like where'd you grow up, where'd you play, that type of thing.
I grew up in Wyandotte, and I guess that's fitting. We're at Yak Arena because I spent some time here.
There you go.
And I'll kind of go way back. I'm the youngest of 5, and 3 of my older siblings are sisters. So at the time I didn't like it, but I had to start off being a figure skater.
Boy.
Yeah. So I was in many of the ice travaganzas here. And and then let's see, I was mayor of Munchkinland. So
you got your edges down though.
I was good. And I actually, looking back, I was blessed to start off as a figure skater because I would say I was like at least like an average or above average skater. So that actually served me purposes, and then thank God they let me get some hockey skates. But when you're the youngest of, you just get taken to the rink.
Right.
Like you just got to go where everybody else is going. So you kind of like, you really don't have much of a choice.
Yeah.
I've never actually worn figure skates. Are they way different?
Yes. And there's a lot of boys that think that they're just going to jump on a pair of figure skates and all they do is do a header. Because they don't realize that the front of the skate. So it's all about balance and kind of like staying on top and things like that.
So that's an adjustment for you then.
Yes. Right. And in the long run, I think it worked out. I did my circles okay.
That's funny.
And then I was kind of like in Wyandotte, back then, there was like 4 or 5 like house teams, as far as Mike House. And then I was, back then they also had the district rules, right? Like that's crazy because you see all kids everywhere now. And, Southgate had a really good squirt team. And so I wanted to try out for that squirt team, but it was a different dynamic. You just weren't trying out for the team. You were trying out for 3 out of district spots.
Oh, right.
Yeah. So then, I was able to make that hockey team, and then I'm very fortunate because I played 3 years for Southgate Hockey Association, and then 2 years for District 2, which was kind of like the start of like the evolving of like the travel teams that could have who was out of the ice box, and we actually won. We went to 5 state championships, and I was able to win 3 state championships in youth. And I attribute 100% to just the same group all staying together. So our big group from Southgate kind of went to District 2.
Nice.
And so that's kind of the highlight.
What were you guys? What, Southgate, like Senators or
SHA? What was our? So like that was USA. Southgate Hockey Association. What was our nickname? I don't remember. Yeah. So I played with all of the core group was the 89 Southgate Anderson state champs.
There you go.
Makes sense.
Yeah.
Makes sense.
So the Ronnie Patterson, Scott Stewart, Richie Nagy, all those guys.
Pretty cool.
We rode that wave, and then they beat me up when I was at Gabriel.
You're right. And so touch on that. What's the history of GR? Your dad was involved from the beginning and that type of thing, or how did that start?
Yeah. So 1979. I was 8, and there was actually junior C hockey around here. They played out of like River Rouge, and it was awful. And my brother was playing it, and it was nothing but just very, very like physical and fights and things like that. And I think my mom actually had something to do with it. I think she stopped going to watch Jimmy's game. He was quite the brute.
Oh my goodness.
Angry fella. And so my dad got with Tom Rashid at the time, our athletic director at at Gabriel Richard and started a high school hockey program 1981, my brother's junior year. And they got beat up a little bit, but I think who was our first coach? Tom Swearingen. So Tom Swearingen,
Okay.
right? Everybody probably knows that.
Yeah, I've heard the name.
That name, or older people know that name. So it went Tom Swearingen, and then it went Skip Howie, and then there was a little bit of a flip flop. Coach Sullivan was assistant coach at Trenton, and that job came open, and Skip was young. I want to say he was like 24, 25, right around there. So there was a little bit of a flip flop, and so Skip went and got the head coaching job there, and then Coach Sullivan came here, and then after that it was just Scott Sebastian and then myself. So over the course of, I don't know, not that good at math,
Almost 40 years.
and
right?
only 5 coaches.
35 years, right? That's
Yeah,
crazy.
only having 5 coaches.
Yeah,
is,
45 years.
Yeah. So my dad, bless his heart, he's still alive and watches the game and 93 years old. So we got to make sure we keep it going.
Yep, that's for sure. So I guess we could have started with this, but we touched on it real quick. Rick is the head coach of Riverview Gabriel Richard, which Andrew is assistant coach for that team. I actually got to play for Rick for a couple select tournaments growing up when I was in 6th grade and when I was in high school. So we'll touch on some funny stories on that later. But so then Rick is now the head coach of Gabriel Richard. Like you said, there's only been 5 coaches in this entire time.
Yeah.
And then Andrew came on, 4 or 5 seasons ago?
I actually did the math yesterday. It was 6.
6
I
seasons
cannot
ago.
believe it, but yeah.
Oh my goodness.
Andrew's a Todd Johnson referral too. He's like, you got to go. Todd, spent 2 years with me, and he's like, you have to go get Andrew Sawyer. And when Todd Johnson speaks, you listen.
Yeah, that's true about that.
Oh yeah, exactly.
That's true.
Yeah. So anyway, but then after that, I played at Gabriel Richard 4 years. Unfortunately, right, and don't want to deter people from playing multiple sports and things like that. I hurt my knee my senior year of football, so I missed my senior year and stuff like that. So that was right. I'm sure plenty of people listening face a lot of adversity. That was probably one of my biggest adversities.
Oh, dang.
Yeah, and then the Melvindale Blades. It was a brand new North American team. I was between there and the Downriver Blades. I would literally just drive from a Downriver Blades game to a Melvindale Blade game the same day, just trying to kind of get better and things like that. When Dom was our coach there, and that's even really different today, right? Like the North American Hockey League, right? I know you guys talk hockey. There used to be a ton of teams here. You had Lakeland, you had the Blades for a year, you had obviously the Junior Wings, you had the Redford Royals.
Wow.
Goodness.
All right, there's not. I don't think there is. There's a North American team anymore.
I don't think there is anymore.
Yeah, kind of how that pendulum swings. So unfortunately, the Blades kind of folded, so we were all kind of free agents, I guess you could call it.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
And then one of the things I'm most proud of is I went to the Junior Wings. We could go wherever we wanted to kind of try out. So I went to the Junior Wings, and I want to say there was 100 out there, and I'm a high school hockey player, right? That was a half Melvindale Blade player.
You didn't play his senior year, right? So you didn't play for a while.
And I didn't even, and I had a year off and stuff like that. And I was fortunate to make that hockey team. So
That's
it would
awesome.
be when they say you can do it, it doesn't, absolutely a fan of AAA and higher level hockey and stuff like that for the players that maybe didn't reach those levels or chose not to play at those levels. That I was out there with about 100 kids, and a lot of them were AAA, a lot of them were from other juniors and stuff like that. And there was only 2 spots.
Oh my goodness.
So that was a pretty cool day.
Well, I have a note further down on a kind of a reminder, but as someone who's played high school hockey, coached high school hockey all these years, what is something about high school hockey that AAA doesn't have? Because there's constantly the debate between players get to that point and they're like, oh, I don't want to play high school because I can't play at the next level. And it's time and time again every year, good players choose to play high school, they enjoy it, and they move on. So what are some things that you think that high school has that AAA doesn't?
I would say just a lot of the camaraderie, but also you're kind of a big fish in a small pond, especially at little old Riverview Gabriel has 241 students.
It's crazy.
So you can kind of stand out. I get the question all the time, right? When I'm talking to maybe parents that are interested in Gabriel Richard, and here's how I answer it. I say, if you are on one of the top, say you're on one of the top 3 AAA teams at your level in Michigan, and you're in the top 6 and the top 4, I tell them they should stay there.
Yep,
100%. If you are in the bottom 6 and you are a 5th or 6th defenseman, I tell them, then I think that maybe, a good high school hockey program that has a good, tough schedule, I think they'll develop more at that high school program than they would, because those top players in the, those AAA teams, the top 6 and top 4, I mean, wow, they're like USA development type, they're, USHL, things like that. So, not that they can't, but I mean, that's just kind of any high school coach that tries to sell that, I think they're kind of fooling themselves.
For sure.
I think the camaraderie part is our answer too. Like you get to play with your friends that you grew up with. You get to play with in front of your school and in front of your community. And if you are on a good program with coaches that they know their job, and your teammates are good and they're all pushing each other, like it's the best time. And every single year, guys regret it after they don't play high school.
I think it's just all about pride. Like we talk about how the biggest the complaint about AAA is that in January and February, when and Andrew says this all the time, when their season should be getting most close and most bonded, everyone's like, where are you playing next year? Whereas in high school, you're going all out literally until that state championship. And I'm not saying the guys in AAA don't care, but like it really does make a difference, Like when you have that pride and like this is your school, like this is your town, like this is what you're fighting for, rather than you're playing for a program, right? So it's just, and there is pride in AAA too, but I just think that the pride in high school hockey, there's nothing like it. So
yeah, AAA is juniors at a lower level,
right?
Yep.
That's a good way to put it.
Yeah, because I tell you play. Why do you play high school hockey, right? Because your buddies, your friends, right? Memories, stuff like that. It's like, why do you play AAA? To get to the next level. Why do you play juniors? To get to the next level. And then if you end up at college, right? Why do you play college? Now you're basically playing for your college is equivalent to the camaraderie of
right.
as
And
far
you get
as
an
like
education and all that.
right. You play for your team.
That's good.
The sooner you get to play for your team, the better.
Exactly.
True.
From an enjoyment standpoint,
For sure.
I think, at
Absolutely.
least. Yeah.
Yeah, man.
So after you were done playing, what was like the decision to be done playing? You played junior, and then did you go play college anywhere, or?
I actually was a pretty decent baseball player. So I went on and played college baseball. I played 2 years.
Wow.
I played 2 years at Henry Ford Community College, and
Nice.
then we went to the Junior College World Series, and then I ended up in South Carolina, Aiken, playing for a pretty good
Really?
Division II school.
I had no idea about that.
Yeah. But going back to the junior wings, like that was Rob Elsevic, right? He played in Nashville. I mean, our most infamous was Brian Holzinger, right? Because it was the CompuWare versus Junior Wings battle, so it was Holzinger versus Ralston, things like that. I mean, I mostly sat on the bench and watched those games.
Yeah,
in those
seriously.
games. But if I got my little opportunity, and then my coaching staff was Kyle Krug,
Okay.
and Chris Corey. Hair was the same back then, so it didn't change. He
Chris
was like
Corey.
a third assistant. I mean, you're talking, this was early 90s. And Quint Reha, right, was our goalie coach. And even did did our laundry for us. Just a wonderful,
Cool time.
wonderful person. Yeah. So it was quite the staff.
Well, there we go.
And I think AJ Plasky went on to Bowling Green. Valsavic went and won a national championship at Lake State. So it was kind of like
team.
I was happy to be in that room.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it was some fun times.
And then you got involved with coaching, how?
So I lived in. I started my what do you call it? Your real job. I had started after school. I had to, come base with reality because obviously, like hockey players do a really good job extending fun time.
That's true.
They couple years of juniors,
100%.
and not most of us get out of school in 4 years.
Yep.
So you're talking 7-year programs. So at about the ripe age of 25.
Right.
That was the same.
Same here.
I was 24.
Mhm.
Yeah. So then I was fortunate. I got a job at Aerotech, which was kind of like a startup staffing company, and then they were growing. So I told my boss I'd go anywhere, anytime for like 3 years, and I was married at the time. So then we would like to have youngins, and if anybody's out there knows that their moms need to be by their moms,
Right.
and it'll make your life much better if you have.
That might be the best piece of advice.
if you have young kids. So I was out in Boston, and I came back, and I actually lived in Brighton because I was our Flint office, and Scott Sebastian, he was a senior when I was a freshman. He was coaching, and he asked me to help, so I started kind of making a little bit of the drive, and then we ended up moving back down here, and then Scotty was moving to Florida for work, and I think there was maybe only one applicant.
Oh boy.
So I got it.
There we go.
There you go.
They even still interviewed me. I was like, why are you interviewing me if
It's mine. It's my job.
So yeah, just my dad starting the program, being alma mater, just loved playing here, things like that. Have a lot of pride.
Not to date you, but when was that?
Oh gosh, 96 is when I started Aerotech. 3 years, 4 years, 98. Oh no, our first year. It was the 03 state final.
Yeah, when you went to
lost
the
to
final.
Calumet 2-1. Yeah, so that was 03, and then Scotty stayed on 04 and 05, and I believe my first year was 06.
So 03 was 06 as a head coach. your first
06
year?
as a head coach, so 3 years as a
And 03 was lost in the final, right?
yes.
So the weird thing is for me when I learned that, and this will be weird for you too, is we were at the 03 Trenton game at 10 a.m. that morning when they beat Davison 4-0. Remember those?
Yep.
The pads, the diagonal ones. And so then that means later that day, a few hours later, because 10 a.m. was D2, and then you guys were probably at like 2.
Yeah.
You guys were after, which is just weird how that stuff works. Like from the same area, but like I never knew about anything else other than Trenton hockey when I was a kid, and I was like 7 years old. You're 5 years old at that game, and then you're getting ready for coach right after. So it's pretty cool.
No, and Coach Turner even came in and talked to our team.
Really?
Yeah, like after the game, just kind of giving
There we go.
giving
That's
the
awesome.
guys a pep talk. So that was really cool.
That's awesome. Cool.
Yeah.
So as the coach of as the head coach of a program that is continuously trying to improve every year, and develop your players, get ready for playoffs, how important do you think the regular season is when it comes to the strength of your schedule?
Oh, I would think it's most important. Those who put too much weight on wins and losses. I think we have this year. We almost tied again last night. It would have been like our fourth tie.
Yeah,
Things like
15 games,
that.
16
Yeah.
games.
So it is absolutely. And then you can tell when we play a non-competitive game, it's just not the same.
Mhm.
So you can't really get on the guys because you feel the same way. This is boring to you.
Mhm.
This is boring to them. How tough, and you're just coaching.
Mhm.
So it's like, how hard is it to get up for that game and play in that game? So as a young coach, oh gosh, all my mistakes. One, thought that every game was like the state championship. Thought every player couldn't do without. And when you start to kind of sometimes the through your coaching career, might be ineligible, might be injured. So then you kind of learn, and once you learn that you can manage, maybe without that player that day, or without your best player, or if your best player has an attitude, I probably allowed too many good players in my early years to have just bad attitudes and own me.
Right. Well, so touch on this touch on the state championship thing. What do you mean by that? Like you just took every game too serious?
Yes. Yeah, like you're a brand new coach. What, I was 29-ish?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I was early 30s. Yeah, I think I would start off early 30s because I'm 53.
Still young.
Yeah. Yeah. So, so you just like, you take things way too serious, and and that just puts difficult pressure on your players. You're immature. There's definitely a lot of growing. As a young coach, that is for sure. I actually went and knocked on our my District 2 coach, John Scott. I literally, like after my first year, because I just thought I was awful and I was struggling, I literally went and knocked on his door. I found out where he lived. He's like, he come to the door. He's just like, what in the world? And I just literally said, I need your help. Like, I really stink.
Wow.
Yeah. So he helped me out there. So, I think a common mistake that coaches make is they hire down, they don't hire up, right? Like people would be intimidated by putting someone on your staff that's, smarter than you or has a better resume than you. John Scott's resume was unbelievable.
Mm-hmm.
He, with the state championships and coaching juniors, and then you can't get much better resume than Todd Johnson. People thought I was crazy. I was like, no, I'm like, who's coaching this team? We all are.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So
I think that's a huge thing.
Yeah, for sure.
So you've been coaching for a while. What do you think keeps you going? Like, do you think if you won a state championship, you'd be done? What brings you happiness in coaching, and like, what makes you? Because it's a lot. It's a lot year after year. Like, new players, new challenges, new environment, new opponents, new drives. Like, what keeps you wanting to come back and coach? Do you really love the day-to-day? Do you love the big picture? Do you love the coaching? Do you just love hockey? What do you think makes you happiest about coaching?
I would say at the beginning it was just kind of like, I just kind of like, this would be kind of cool, to be a coach, and, and then it kind of transitioned into like more of a serious, we really would like to have some success, and, kind of worked, because I think my first 4 years I probably got mercied on average like 8 to 10 times, because I was in the old school Metro League. Yeah, and you had to play Trenton twice, De La Salle twice, and that was like, was it Mike Helber was at Pioneer? I think I watched him score 8, right? And and so I think at first it was just kind of like, this is kind of something to do right now, and then my buddies were the assistant coaches, so
you're right.
It was kind of like a friend thing to do. And then, then it transitioned into, all right, let's, we got to get this thing going in the right direction. This isn't that fun.
Mm-hmm.
And then now we're, we've had some success, but I think we're still like, kind of like, there's one more step like I'd like to make. So I'm kind of like, I guess the answer to your question is like, it's pushing for that next thing.
Mm-hmm.
And then if I was fortunate enough to, win a state championship, I think it would just kind of make you, you know what I mean? Like kind of even hungrier. And it's much like playing. Like any coach that doesn't say it's not like playing, we're as just competitive
100%
as those players. We're not in the game, but like you're competing against the other coach.
A huge impact. So I never realized how big of an impact coaches had until I became a coach. So
yeah,
you guys are just as important as anyone on the ice,
Yeah, it's fun. It's you're like, we all love competing, right? You like competing it. And it's just kind of like you're just competing. You're just in a different role on that team. So
I always say like my first game when I first stopped playing the Trenton Bantam team, they asked me to come be an assistant coach for them, and I was like, yeah, sure, I'll just be the cool young coach. I was 19 there, like 13. I was like, I don't think I'll get like emotionally invested. Like I won't be upset if we lose. I'm not playing anymore. And I went to our first tournament at Fraser. First tournament, we lost the first game, and I was so mad. I went into my car, closed the door, and just screamed at the top of my lungs. And I was like, why am I so mad right now? It ruined my night. Because I thought I was just going to like have fun with it, and it was a blast. But like I didn't think I was going to be as competitive with it as I was. So
yeah.
It's cool. You can't really turn that off, I guess.
No, it's a vice in some degree because it's adrenaline. It's something that's a part of your life. And then, I can't imagine what it's like for, long-standing coaches or players that, stop playing. Like, the whole, what they go through after that, like, is probably, I'm sure they talk like they enjoy their free time and golfing and stuff like that. But like, it would be a huge void to deal with, like after after you are done. But I'm succession planning.
There we go.
I'll be the general manager.
Well, I actually want to touch on that real quick. Obviously, there's a lot of topics here, but just tell us about Andrew and how when he came onto your staff, what was like a story that kind of opened your eyes, like, wow, like Andrew takes it serious, or wow, Andrew's like knows what he's talking about. What's the story about him that can come to mind? I know it's kind of hard putting you on the spot, but any story where you're like, one of the first seasons where you're like, wow, like Andrew knows what he's doing. Anything that comes to mind?
Yeah, I had to learn how to shut up.
Oh no.
Let him do his thing. Like Coach Andrew doesn't want to be somewhere where he's not like participating or right. So I had to, I had some, those other coaches and stuff like that. But like, I finally had a guy that, I probably ran every practice until Coach Andrew got here. That's a lot of years. That's a lot of practices and things like that. So, I had to, and, he kind of, he's I don't know. He's a very, as a very good young coach, like just like extremely, like, what's the word I'm looking for? Just very disciplined, very quiet, like keeps his composure. Yeah. He reminds me of what some coaches talk about the duck, like coach like a duck, right? You look at like a duck in the water, right? Yeah. But he's paddling like a son of a gun under.
That's a really good.
I like that duck. I was like, man, is he really this composure? Like, I'm like, I'm gonna poke him.
Yep. That's
maybe pinch him or something like that and stuff like that. But and it reflects on the. Yeah. It reflects. So
you don't see him go to the car and scream in the car. Yeah. You just see him composed there.
You go. Now I know what happens.
Exactly.
The truth is out.
I hate it. No, that's for sure.
Yeah. No, so it's been a blessing to have Coach Andrew. And like there's old and smart and there's young and smart. Same thing as far as like adding to your right. So now, right, you see all these even like, you look at some of these NFL coaches, they're like, dude, how old is that guy? Right? And they're just they're wise beyond their years. There you go. That's what I was looking for.
Well, I think one thing that I noticed with you when they talk, because I've been around obviously and went to a lot of the games last few years, even skated and stuff. I think that, and this is something that we always talk about, is that in order to stay, like you obviously had a lot of success, and in order to stay successful, the game changes every day. So a big compliment to you is that you adjust with the times. You said you're 53. You've been coaching for the longest time, right? But you still are I would still consider you like a new era coach where you're adjusting with the game. There's some of these coaches who are just so set on their old school ways and, they fall out of success and everything. Whereas you're out there trying to learn more. You're trying to have a new perspective. You're trying to adjust with the game. And that's why you guys have developed the program that you have, because you're willing to take it and change your old ways and bring in someone who has a new perspective and help you and then make your perspective even different. So I think that that's just a huge compliment. I think that's a lot of coaches need to hear of all sports, that, hey, it's not a shot that you don't know. It's not saying that you don't know what you're talking about. It's just that the game is getting better every single day, in every way possible. Like you take a game in 1995 versus 2025, it's going to be night and day, And there's not that one's better or worse. It's just different. So I give you a lot of credit as a coach, as from what I hear all the time from Andrew, is that you're willing to adjust with the game. And I think that's what every coach needs to do out there.
Yeah,
totally agree with that.
Thank you. So yes, no, you got to be a nerd. You got to be a hockey nerd. And the amount of hockey we watch, and we pre-scout every team. Yeah, and it's almost like the pre-scout. The pre-scout, you just seems to get generic. Like, you do the pre-scout and you're like, all right, here's how they're trying to break out. Here's their penalty kill break. Here's our penalty kill forecheck. Here's their power play breakout, and you're just like, all right, well, this, like, my pre-scouts are just, and then pre-scouting other teams. You might see something that you're like, oh wait, just kind of as far as
you take it for yourself,
watching, right? And things like that. Yes, for sure.
I think part of being a nerd, and I won't go into too much detail because it's involving our actual hockey team and we want some things private. But like I was telling Griff on the way here that like we have already looked at the schedule for the rest of this year and next year and figured out what locations of games should be played at to give us the best advantage for playoffs potentially, what games we should play and when we should play them as far as the rankings for the system, just because we want to put our team in the best position possible. So I think that's a huge thing.
100%.
All right, so as a coach, as a player, as anyone in sports, you always have those few games that kind of stick out to you as like, a defining moment or someone where if you're asked a question, you always think about it right away. So me and Andrew were talking, and you've obviously been a part of some amazing teams, some amazing moments. Do you have any games that kind of stick out to you as like the craziest game you've ever experienced, or like your favorite memory of a game you've ever experienced?
I guess I would say, I guess I'll call it my first big win.
All right.
And Grozeal was I think what you said, maybe the 2010, 11-ish. I think Grozeal was like maybe 1 or 2 in the state. And Coach Skip Howie, good coach, and Coach Mann, and DJ Hastings, I think, who was drafted by the Plymouth Whalers. I think,
Oh, wow. Okay.
A type of OHL level kid, along with, a ton of other talent.
Justin Keenan, I think, and
yes.
that class, like that was the 2010 class, but the 11s and 12s were really good too. So I'm sure that was a really good team.
Yes, and so I think we played them in 2 regular season games, which is another thing because I'm a big believer in familiarity builds complacency.
Oh, okay.
If that makes sense. Like, so we because it was kind of a little bit. I think it was more of like a trap game for them. We lost at home 5-2, and they had some power play goals and things like that. And we kind of competed, and then and then we went to Trenton and played them there, and I think it was maybe like 2-0 in the maybe 2 or 3-0 after the first, and then I think they got up on us like 4-0, and my starting goalie Micah Collier. I just looked at Coach Robin, and I'm like, dude, let's get out of here. So I pulled my starting goalie. I did not want him to get humiliated because all I was thinking about was the regional matchup and things like that. So I put in my little freshman goalie, Stephen Marks, and we were out of there in the next 4 or 5 minutes.
There we go. Oh my goodness.
Even Coach Howie. He kind of knew it because he was like, man, oh man, this team, like, they could, he knew that we weren't that far away, but he couldn't convince his players, right? We were just, they just thought so.
Oh, the players were overconfident?
Yes. Like, we were playing New Boston Huron, and I look up and I see Coach Howie, like, watching us. I'm like, wow, he beat us 5-2. He just mercied us. They beat Cranbrook that year. they might have had 1 or 2 losses. They were literally like one of the best teams in the state. But he wasn't taking us for granted, so I know he didn't do that. And and then we did our. I think, gosh, back then my film sessions were like literally almost 1 to 2 hours. We would like just stop it. We'd watch the whole game and stop it and go over it and be like, that's bad.
Wow.
They talk about it now. They're like, coach.
Yeah.
And so then we played them in the regional. We played them in the regional final, and so we kind of knew we when you play a team a couple of times, you get to know their tendencies. They had a really good skilled defenseman that we didn't want him to like. We didn't want him to get to open ice. We kind of, sometimes we sat back, sometimes we pressured. So we tried to kind of like keep them off their, just kind of keep them off balance. And I want to say that was 3-15s too.
I think it was at that time because the playoffs was for 15s.
Yeah, if it was 3-17s, I'm not getting that win.
Were you confident going in?
I was. I thought I had a good plan. I thought we thought we had a good plan, and I thought the players were on the same page, and we had a pretty good we had a pretty good team. We've never really had, I think maybe in the last, we've never really rolled 3 or rolled 5, at GR. Sometimes it can be 2 and it can be 3 and,
1.5.
1.5. Yes. So, yes. And I knew I had a good goalie.
Yeah.
So that's kind of so I knew if I protected the goalie, and then if I was going to win that hockey game, it was going to be 1-0 or 2-1, and I think it was 1-1. It was 1-1 all the way till I think maybe like 3 or 4 minutes left, and then Vic Doko took just a D shot right and went off Jimmy Steele's knee pad and into the back of the net, and then we just held on for dear life.
This was the regional final.
This was the regional final, yes. Because because then for the next 2 minutes, their top 6 against our 5. There wasn't a really from a competitive
breaking,
level,
blocking
stuff like
shots and diving out, eating pucks, whatever it took.
Yes.
How are you feeling after that game?
Oh, top of the world.
Top of the world.
Yes. Yeah, it was
Where was it at?
Pretty good. At Southgate.
At Southgate?
Yep. Yeah, so we were able to host it, which is kind of nice because I don't think we wanted to go back to Trenton where they just absolutely humiliated us.
I think one of my, like you said, you were confident because you had a good plan. I think that is one of my favorite feelings about coaching is like when you've done the work, you've scouted the other team, you've put together probably too many notes on them, their whole roster more than you should or more than you really need to. And then you have your plan on how you're going to play against them. And then you're just like standing on the bench and warm-ups, just like we're ready. Like we prepared, we practiced right this week. We did our video. We did our meetings. We're ready.
Well, tell the quick story about CompuWare. Tell it.
What?
Not and with the 04s, how you went and got their sign languages. It's a great story.
Yeah.
Just you gotta tell it.
So when I was coaching the 04 Trenton team, so they were first year Bantam. We were playing at the Iserman level, which is the highest level of Tier 2 hockey. We were a really good team. We were like one of the top teams in the country. But it was 2007. I was 21, and so I was in college. So I didn't have anything to do with my life other than go to school, kinda, and coach.
Non-paid coach, just so it's where you don't think he was doing this for free and took it as serious as a pro coach could.
So,
which is why they were one of the top teams in the country. But sorry,
yeah. So there was like there was 4 teams there was 3 other teams that we always wanted to be in the mix with. It was Birmingham Rangers, CompuWare, and then the number 1 team in the country, USA. So USA Eagles. So if we knew if we were in that mix, we were where we wanted to be. And before we played CompuWare, I went to one of their games that I saw on their website. I took their schedule. I drove out to CompuWare and I sat in the crowd and recorded. I took a camera and recorded their game and then watched it just to get prepared for our game against them. And I knew every single face-off play they were running. And then so when we played the next week back at CompuWare on the NHL sheet, the stadium sheet, the bowl arena, if you think about it, the penalty boxes are on the opposite side of the ice. So there's that one divider between the 2 benches. And I say that because when they would run a face-off, I would yell out like, 11's coming off the wall behind, and their whole team was like right there. They weren't like between the penalty box; they were right there, and they're all like looking over me like, "What are you doing?" And I'm like, "11's coming behind, or 14's going through the middle, or he's walking you." And their coach was just constantly like, "How does he know everything?" And it's like, because I was a psycho 21-year-old coach driving out the computer for a Bantam game.
See how I told him he was wise beyond his years.
And then probably a couple weeks later, we played USA Eagles, and they were the number 1 team in the country at that point. This was the biggest win I had ever had as a coach to that point. We played USA Eagles, and we beat them 3-0 on a Monday night at Trenton, and it was just like amazing, incredible. It was just, like that feeling was just amazing.
I just remember when the CompuWare game, a guy was skating out to the face-off, and you yelled out, and the guy whipped his head back at you and was like, "How?"
Before they lined up.
Yeah, it's like there was the quote like, "If you fail to plan, then you should plan to fail."
Yeah,
so
it's a good one.
100%.
Any other games that come to mind?
Maybe I would touch on 2. We here was a double overtime against Woodhaven when they were a pretty good hockey team. 0. I mean, who thinks like a 0-0 hockey game can be exciting, right?
Oh,
yeah. They're just the lowest. Those ones are the best. And then we got an OT we had that OT winner there, and then quarterfinal against Ann Arbor GR. And what makes it kind of special
right?
is yes, and just jammed, right? We remember their student
Unreal
section.
environment there.
Oh yeah. Yeah, like our student section. Remember, I moved our student section.
Yeah.
Their student section was the whole end of the disc, like right.
Yeah, the part behind them.
And our student section was like right next to them, and I swear it was maybe like 10 kids. And I told one of the players, I'm like, I go, you go please move our guys away from, like we moved them further away because it was just like
overpowering.
Like, come on, yes,
Oh,
yes,
my
yes,
goodness.
yeah. So that was an OT. And an OT winner as
Was
well.
that your son, Chance?
Yeah, he had them both.
Chance had both of them
Yeah,
that
they
game.
were both big wins, and they were, those games where it's like, you don't bow out too early,
Mhm.
right? And you're competitive.
Yeah.
And like, how are you going to perform in those? I've got some. I have some that I bowed out, I think, a little too early, but then those couple there. So he had both OT winners. So that's
awesome.
That was like the cherry on the top.
And that
or
was
stuff like that.
The Woodhaven one was before I was even involved, and I remember hearing about that game. I have a weird memory when it comes to the game, and I'm pretty sure it was a Saturday afternoon because I remember the pictures. It was light out. It was here, right?
Yes.
And these guys scored at this end.
Yep.
And it was 1-0 because that was that class of 18 team from Woodhaven and GR. And then the next one, that was when I was helping out that year, but I was still coaching their teams, and we were in the practice arena, and we were looking at the updates for it. And I remember we finally looked and we saw you guys beat AAGR, and we were in the middle of the practice arena just while we were on the ice with practice.
Do you remember what we did though? We called the disc. We called the rink and said, "Hey, who won?" And they looked out and they go, "I think the maroon team did." And we're like "Oh, okay, we're good. All right, cool."
And then she went back to making her hot dogs.
Yeah.
Exactly. Yep. 100%.
Yeah, the maroon team, but it's actually burgundy
Burgundy.
for the record, right?
Yes, burgundy.
Yeah.
Yes,
There we go.
maroon, burgundy. Yes, burgundy and white.
Yeah, those are great memories.
Yes. So
So is that it in the vision one? For obviously with you played for your dad helped start the program. Your brother played for the program, right? Your brother
yes.
played.
Yep.
You played. You've coached. You were an assistant coach. You've coached for a while. What do you picture as the future of GR hockey? Like what's next on the upcoming years and continuing to build this program and maintain it at this point?
Yeah. Well, right. I don't want to get ahead of myself because right as far as like pushing for the next step, sometimes what is success to you?
Mm-hmm.
Meaning like first you have to maintain it because if you're trying to push so hard for that next level, you might actually go backwards. So definitely like maintain the competitiveness of the program, and then obviously continue to push. I think it's just in a really good spot. And people that think that you got it easy, you're in that spot, right? I mean, Catholic Central, people think that they have it easy. No, you watch them, they work like they're not. It's not happening for no reason at all. If they stopped working, if they stopped pushing, then there would be a drop off. So maintain and then kind of continue to push for that next level. We were fortunate to we have one, I think Aiden Gonzalez is a leading scorer in Toledo for the Cherokee, and then we have Jimmy Monks over with the Sarnia Legionnaires that's doing pretty well. So if there's one thing, we've had some players certainly in the past move on, but I'd really like to maybe have a D1 before I'm done to have someone go to juniors and play Division I. So and that's another thing, right? Like actually this came right from Skip Howie. He's like, listen, because Skip coached Little Caesars, right? He goes, listen, I had to try and move 20 kids to juniors. He goes, in high school, as a high school coach, you're literally trying to move like maybe 2 or 3,
Right.
Which is a lot easier to kind of move, right? Because every single player on his Little Caesars hockey team,
True.
I
pretty
actually
sure-
haven't thought about that, but
pretty
yeah.
sure had to had the or the parents. I'm not sure about the player,
Yep.
but the parents certainly had the expectation that my son is going to like a top junior team,
Right.
the USHL, the North American, and then they're going to move on to a Division I school, and I'm going to get a nice sweater out of the college university
Right,
there we go.
store.
Some
Right.
nice tickets to a
No,
game
that's a
here or
good
there.
point because not everyone's a senior at once. Obviously, you maybe have 5 to 10 seniors on any given team, and maybe only a few of those guys, or maybe all of them, just depends on the year, want to actually play after high school. So that's like, I mean, if we look at last year's roster, we have a college football player, a college lacrosse player, and the other guys. 2 of them are playing, and the other guys are all going to school and
Yes.
working and stuff. So,
Yes, for sure.
you want to tell your story?
So, I have 2 quick stories about Rick with my personal experience because I got to play for him 2 actual times in this tournament called the Meyer game. So, the first one was a funny story about when he offered me a spot on the team. So, I was in 7th grade and we were at tryouts, and I was trying out for a team that was a year above me, and I was a decent player. I don't think I was.
He was good. He just downplays that he was not. He says he wasn't good. He likes to paint this picture that he was just this tough guy, but he was actually a good hockey player
I
who
was
also
alright.
was tough.
I was all right. So we're at tryouts. I just tried out. I didn't really know what to expect. I knew of Coach Rick. I wasn't I didn't know him too personally, and then we had Coach Kirkpatrick too, and I was out there with all the older guys. I was the only young guy out there. I'm like, I don't really know if I'm gonna make this. I think there was like 40 guys at the tryout. And I remember I walked, like every player went into the room to meet with you guys. And I remember I walk in there and Coach Rick and Coach Kirkpatrick are both sitting there, both frowning. And I'm like, I'm in 7th grade. I haven't had a moment like this before. They're like, sit down here. And I'm like, oh my goodness, I'm freaking out. I'm like, can you just rip the Band-Aid off? And they go, you made the team, and smile. I'm like, what? Don't do that to me. Are you kidding me? Little 7th grader freaking out. And then we actually in that tournament we went to the finals and lost in the 12th round of that shootout. The 12th round.
Yeah,
You
I
kidding
remember it was a
me?
long shootout.
And I remember you looked at me and you go, "You're next," and I'm like, "Let's go!" And then they scored to win it, and I'm like, "No!" I thought I had a chance to go.
Bad coaching.
No. So you want to touch on that real quick?
So then,
Well, on that note, though,
Mike,
right? John Scott.
we want to make sure you get that. So you're good. You're good.
On that note, though, right? John Scott told me, right? If you ever cut a kid or they make the team, you have to have a one-on-one. He literally, he's like, you know what? If you can't do that, like if you can't do that for that young man, and then you have to do that. So that's why, because I pulled every single one of those in, and I had to tell every single one, right? Right? Yours was an easy one, and we knew you were a fun young man, so we kind of messed with you a little bit. We knew you could take it.
Yeah, exactly.
And then, but that's one thing, as far as like these coaches have posted, it's just
And it's harder to do the one-on-one meetings, but it does mean more.
Yeah.
I have stressed in years ago when I was still head coaching, or when I was head coach at the time, just like a month in advance about those meetings. Like you're excited for the new season, but like the conversations and the phone calls and the meetings of telling someone you're not making the team, like that is the hardest thing.
Yeah. No, and as a player, right, with that same thing, it's like I thought Coach Krug, like he always let you know where you stood. Like every player needs to know where they stand. They know where they stand, then you know what I mean. That you've done your job, and then they kind of do their job. I mean, I knew my role there, and I knew what it was, and I accepted it. And then then once you know that, then you can kind of like work hard towards being the best at your role on that hockey team. So
No, I like it. So then my other next story. So this one is one that I have told. I have told every player I've ever coached, and I will tell every player that I ever coach. So that same tournament, that was when I was in 7th grade, and then there's also a high school division. So I played for Rick. I made the team my senior year, and I remember the first practice. We were at the ice box, and we're in the corner, and Rick took the forwards down, and we went down with the forwards, and he goes, "All right, line up in the corner there." He goes, "We're gonna practice something real quick." And I didn't know what we were doing, and Rick's son, who was 4 years younger than me, obviously way smaller at the time, and he was in 5th grade, Maybe no. He was in like 8th grade. 8th grade. So we're sitting there, and Rick goes, go, Chance. And Rick's at the blue line with all like a group of pucks, and Chance goes out there, and Rick winds up and rips a slap shot right into Chance's stomach. Chance lays on the ground, blocks the shot, maybe 5 feet from him. And he just rips it. And I remember all the forwards looked at each other and were like, is this guy serious here? And I remember like the fear that I had in my the stomach, because like, you know, blocking a shot in a game is one thing, but like practicing shots 5 feet from the coach, I'm like, I gotta do this. So I remember like I'm like, well, I gotta go first. Like I'm freaking out. So like I run out there, and I skate out there and I block it. And I remember like I remember it hit my knee pads and I didn't feel it. And he goes, see, that didn't hurt, did it? And I go, nope. And I got right back in line. And I went again and again. And I remember the last time I went, I did it like 4 or 5 times. I remember the 5th time, it nicked my ankle. And I go, that one hurt. You go, you're fine. And I go, all right, I'm fine.
The reason it's good that he experienced that is because he is so hard on every player about blocking shots. Like I am hard on players for blocking shots too. But that's one thing that I promise that every player that's ever played for Griff will always remember that about him. Like he's on you for blocking shots, and if you do it, he's pumped.
And you tell me that.
I mean, it could come from that.
And in all honesty, I survived in junior hockey because I blocked shots and did the little things like that. So major credit to you, because you helped me do that. You taught me how to do that. So
Oh gosh,
I love it. It's my favorite story.
Yes, those were fun because both those years, you know, it's a mix, right? So you play travel, and then you separate, and then that gives the opportunity for all those players to kind of come back together.
They're so cool,
and it's summer.
Yeah,
right. You're you know, it's like bonus as far as summer hockey and being able to play. You know, we had some pretty. Actually, I was Coach Howie's assistant, and we won the Meyer games. It was when it's kind of died out a little bit, but it was when it was
the top.
Yes, and gosh, who was it? That hockey team was. Well, Gerald Mayhew was on it. So
I think it was my freshman year. It was Gerald Mayhew, Carlo DeGrazia.
Yeah.
A lot of those Wyandotte guys that won states. A lot of those Trenton guys who had won states as younger. Like a lot of those guys.
Like
that was
a
really good
line,
teams.
a Wyandotte line. Like I mean, they scored like 7-8 goals a game. I'm like, this isn't really realistic. But then and we played the group of like the CC and because it's geographic,
right?
So we beat them in the pool play, and then we beat them in the finals.
No
so they
way.
were all. It was like a mini little state championship. Yeah, and they were
awesome.
all. You know, when they come together like that and get a chance to play together. Right, like Wyandotte Trenton. I mean, back in the day. Oh,
no, that's real.
Well,
right.
And what's crazy is Wyandotte Trenton that next season. Trenton had just finished winning 3 in a row. Wyandotte won the next one. Wyandotte eliminated Trenton from playoffs that year. So that summer before, like you said, they're all teammates and everything.
Yeah,
it's cool.
Yep, fun times.
So I have some quick little minor ones here. One of the things that you always say when, like, you know, being critical of a team, a player, a coach, yourself, whatever, is to look inner. So where does that attitude come from? Did someone say that whenever you were playing, or where does that come from?
That comes from my mentor, Brett Eggleston at Aerotech, right? And it was, I mean, I worked for a temporary staffing company for 13 years. It's not the most glamorous thing. Not only was it temporary, and it wasn't even engineers. It was like general laborers and things like that, right? So, you know, trying to get that person, trying to find a good person, right? Trying to get him to work and the details and stuff like that or whatever. And I would always go to him and I would tell him like, well, this person, this, well, this because of this. It's like excuse after excuse after excuse, right? And he's like, well, I don't want to hear about that person. It's like, what could you have done better? What could you have done better? So I've kind of, you know, I carried that out through kind of my career at Aerotech for the 13 years, and then it, you know, it just carries over to everything. And I think you know, some coaches can be like a statute, right, and perfect and things like that. And I think it's extremely important to show them where you if you didn't score on a 2-on-1, right? Do I yell at the kid, or do I say we need to work on 2-on? Do we need to work on 2-on-1s? You know, I kind of have my little right. So throughout the game, if I'm taking notes, it's not notes on the game. It's things that I need to do to make that player better. Right. I always yell at you. I'm like, Coach Andrew, we need this. We need.
That's what I was just gonna say. I think we were like maybe made it like 40 seconds in on Tuesday night against who we played Tuesday, South Grosse Pointe South.
Yes.
And you're like 2-on-1s, Andrew. And I'm like, you gotta remember, Coach Andrew, 2-on-1s.
Yeah.
I'm like, we're 40 seconds into the game. Like we haven't had a face up yet.
So I think it's just a good thing, and they see it, right? I think I've yelled at myself in front of the hockey team.
Yep. No, I love it.
Right. So, who's going to yell at me? Right. It's like, who's going to yell at that? Who's going to yell at the head coach if he doesn't, take accountability and sometimes yell at himself in front of his team, and and then they then you get on it. Then you get on a guy, about this or that. They know you're trying to do better. They're going to try and kind of do better too. And
hey,
so, for
players
sure.
make mistakes, refs make mistakes, and coaches can make mistakes too. Everyone can be better, right?
Absolutely.
So,
can I tell a quick story about Coach Andrew?
Oh yes, please.
And it's recent, and I just knew it. Like I don't know if you know when something like in your heart is going to happen or whatever it may be, right? So he's a perfectionist. We all know that.
Oh yeah,
right. So we were playing Grosse Pointe South, right? And we've had our ups and downs, and we've faced adversity this year, our hockey team, and it's like only helped us. It's like you don't want to face it, but it's only helped us. And 1-1, and he messes up. We only have 4 guys on the ice. I'm like, why is there only 4 guys out there? Why is there only 4 guys out there? Right. And then we get scored on. So now we're down 2-1. We already have a shortened bench and, guys out and this and that and everything and stuff like that. And then I felt bad for him because I know the type of person he is, and I just know how much he cares and stuff like this. And I don't know if you remember, me saying hockey gods.
Yeah.
And I literally said, I'm a believer in the hockey gods.
Oh,
in God and hockey gods.
Of course.
And I just said to him, I said, don't worry, hockey gods. Because of all the, the good person that he is and all he's done for hockey and all he's done for, the players on the team and stuff like that. I was just like, hockey gods. And we tied it up, and then we ended up winning 3-2. And I just knew it. I don't know.
Yeah, no.
If people believe in stuff like that.
No, that's awesome.
I'm like, this isn't happening. This isn't happening to him.
And I think that could even build off what you were just saying, though. He holds himself accountable. You hold yourself accountable. And in all honesty, I'm sure you do too. I believe in good karma. If you do everything you can to succeed, you're going to get a bounce here or there. You guys didn't get a bounce on that play when you guys had two less of guys.
Yeah.
But then maybe you get a bounce back your way because you set yourself up and they're like, okay, that's just hockey.
Well, the look inner thing, what I was going to say before I even told that story is we had 3 guys in the box, and 2 of them were coming out the next whistle. One of them was coming out in the middle of that play. I did say the next line was up, but I didn't say it loud enough. That's where I look inner. I said it, but I didn't say it early enough in that kill, and I didn't say it loud enough. So, did I say it? Yeah, but did I say it in a way that's going to set them up for success to know that they're going? No. And so that was on me. But yeah, of course, he was like, "There's 4 guys on the ice, 4 guys on the ice." I look up, I'm like, "Why is there 4 guys on the ice?" And then, sure enough, there's a goal, and then our player had changed early. So
and everything happens for a reason. Who knows? Maybe it's prepared you for it. Not like
and play.
Why everything? Why sometimes something always has to happen to you once before you learn. I had no idea.
Right.
I completely agree.
Yeah.
All right. Are you a big Red Wings fan?
Yes.
How is their season going to end? Are they going to miss the playoffs? Are they going to make the playoffs to compete? They're going to lose in the second round. What is your prediction for the Red Wings season ending this year?
They are making the playoffs, and they're going to win 1 round.
All right. I like
absolutely.
that. I love that confidence. That
Nice.
makes me happy.
Yes.
Nice.
For sure.
Last one. We kind of touched on all kinds of stuff on GR hockey and coaching and why ultimately, what does hockey mean to you? What does coaching hockey? What does GR hockey mean to you? Like any of those things, take that how you feel.
I would say it's just kind of like become a part of my life, part of my daily life. And it means the world because I couldn't, I couldn't come up with a speech for any other school. I don't know if that makes sense. It's like if I'm walking in that GR room, right? If for some reason I walked into another room with a different team and a different group, I'd be like, all right, well, what what do I come up with?
Right.
What do I come up with here? So, there's been coaches always, every year at the end of the year, there's a rumor that I'm not coming back. I don't know whoever starts it, right? But I'm here for the long haul. And it's like, I think there was a rumor. Coach Quint called me, that I was gonna, take like the UAD job or, and things like that. And I just think it's like it's my home. Now I can see why coaches stay in one spot, right? Like why didn't Coach Wiedenbach? Why did he stay at Cranbrook so long, right? Why didn't he go to juniors? Why didn't he coach, Division One? He enjoyed it, right? And it kind of becomes your home. A part of your life. So it's literally like a piece of me. It's just not like a coaching a hockey team kind of thing.
Yeah, I think that's what anyone wants. That's what their goal is.
For sure.
So I'll wrap up with this. You said, you kind of like touched on the way you explained it. I didn't think about it the same way, but you said you couldn't create a speech for another school. If I rewind 6 years ago, whenever I first talked with you about coming to GR, that was a huge thing to do. Everyone knows me and Griff were born to be involved with Trenton hockey. And I am at GR initially because Todd Johnson, like you said, he kind of played matchmaker a little bit on that. And I took Todd's word because, like you said, when he speaks, you listen. But at the same time, I had a conversation with you at Captains, and you explained offensive zone spacing with the salt and pepper. And I was like, this guy, I think we talked for like an hour and a half about hockey, and you explained it on there. And I was like, all right, this guy's actually kind of a hockey nerd. Because for me, I didn't want to just coach somewhere and waste time. Hockey's serious to me. I don't like just doing that. So you are the reason that I am not just at anywhere. I'm at GR because of you, to the point that when I put my warm-up on jacket on, the first time I got it years ago, I walked into my mom's apartment because I was still living with her at the time, and she looked at me and she says, "That's really ugly." And it was a black, brand new Adidas jumpsuit with the GR logo, so clean, and she's like, "That looks really ugly." And the only reason was because we had to train our brains and our family. Me, Griff, my mom, our dad, our grandma, everyone to that GR is good now.
All right.
GR is good because that's where Andrew is. That's where we're involved. So there's 3 reasons I'm still there. I'm here. You love the game. You love the team and the players, and you want to win and you want to compete. So those are the 3 things that it comes down for me.
Thank you very much. All right, I take from CC and Trenton.
Yeah.
Right, and make your program better.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, thank you for joining us. This
Thanks
has
for
been
having
really
me.
fun.
Yes, thank you very much.
Rick.
Thank you.
Thank you guys for tuning into another episode. We hope you guys enjoyed that interview, and we look forward to doing more interviews like that moving forward. Thanks, guys.